rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, and then shall the end come.
Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?
Here's today's prophecy update. Our world is becoming increasingly dependent upon the internet. Banking, shopping, studying, working, and most other activities are becoming reliant on this amazing thing called the World Wide Web. The internet was invented by the U.S. military and then spread quickly to the private sector. Now, President Obama is planning on turning over control of the web to the International Telecommunications Union, an agency of the United Nations. Many people have concerns that this would allow the UN to control what is published on the internet and who can have access to the World Wide Web. Though many people ridicule that possibility, it has been proven that people, organizations, and even certain kinds of speech can be censored. In the hands of an all-powerful world government, this level of control would be frightening indeed. People who know the scriptures can see how the Antichrist and his one world government could use the internet to control the entire world. The web would be the perfect vehicle for such a system. Well, when I heard that President Obama was planning on transferring ownership of the internet to the international realm, to the United Nations, I thought, how could we possibly consider doing such a thing? I mean, we've got billions and billions of dollars invested in this massive invention and this marvelous means of communication. To turn it on over to the United Nations, it's hard for me to comprehend why we would do that. I can only think of one reason why, and that is we believe in world government, or at least President Obama believes in world government, and therefore the internet is going to be the means of the whole world being drawn together as one entity. Now, I'm assuming that that's the reason why. Let me take a moment to familiarize you with the International Telecommunications Union, because it was a new term to me. It goes for short by ITU. ITU was founded in Paris way back in 1865 as the International Telegraph Union. It took its present name in 1934 and in 1947 became a specialized agency of the United Nations. To give you a little more information about all this, it is the international organization that attempts to allocate access to the different bands that are used by radio, by television, by shortwave, by all kinds of communication, by cell phones, and they basically are the gatekeeper of the world for all of this interaction. However, because the United States invented the internet and holds the internet right now, that is not under the authority of the ITU. So let me tell you a little bit about what's going on right now. Now, this transfer is supposed to take place October the 1st, so there's not much time left to stop it. President Obama's Commerce Department has agreed to shift the country's internet domain system over to a nonprofit organization called the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, which is known as ICON, starting October 1. Defenders of the move argue that it's a necessary symbolic move, while others argue that it would give control to foreign governments like Russia and China, which frown upon free speech. Here's everything you need to know about it. First of all, what exactly is ICON? Well, ICON is a multi-stakeholder organization featuring countries like China and Russia. ICON helps assign domain names and top-level domains such as .com and .org, and is working toward adding even many more domain names. Now, up until October the 1st, the U.S. has control over ICON. ICON's been in existence for a long time. When you went to get your particular domain name, you had to apply to ICON. But it was under U.S. control up until October the 1st. That will cease in just about a month or two. Now, the U.S. maintained control in order to ensure that the organization would not fall under international control and to allow authoritarian regimes to engage in censorship. That all changes when the U.S. government contract with ICON expires. Now, we can renew this. It is in the government's power to do it. But ICON loves its position because it charges every person that gets a domain name. Now, originally it was free. Now then, they're charging, and it has become, to say lucrative is an understatement. It is a billions of dollars industry, and ICON enjoys its very privileged position. However, the nations of the world are saying, why should America control the World Wide Web? Why should it not be under international control? Well, first of all, it's functioning fine under America's control, and we have the ability to make sure that it's not subjected to censorship. There is a problem with that, however, because America has been involving itself in some censorship. I mean, already you can get kicked off the World Wide Web if you use certain kinds of hate speech. Others will censor you if you are pushing certain things. For example, the religion, World Scientology, has been eliminated and banned from the internet. I don't know the entire premise of it, but nevertheless, it has happened. Now, if we can ban bad speech but keep good speech, we no longer have free speech, do we? So all of that is at stake. But the bigger issue, I want to give you a little bit more information because I know that most of us don't read this for an everyday pastime. The article goes on to say even more chilling is the fact that ITU had passed a treaty that provided authority to governments to close off their citizens' access to the global internet. The ITU, which will end up being over the internet, has already signed a treaty to this effect, and that amounts to creating a digital iron curtain. If ICON becomes a part of the UN, then they too will be subject to this treaty. Now, the UN and the ITU basically oversees broadband, it oversees cell phones, it oversees faxes, it oversees almost everything, but it has not had control yet over the internet. That still belongs to America because it was an American invention and an American development. The rest of the world has simply jumped on board. Now then, President Obama has decided it's time to turn that over to the international community. Now, to me, the darker side of this situation, let me give you one more reason why some people think that control should be turned over. Lobbying for the end of U.S. control was intensified due to the incident with Edward Snowden. After Snowden's leaks of the National Security Agency's government surveillance emerged, ICON and other foreign governments use the U.S.'s use of surveillance in other countries as reason to end U.S. control of internet governance. When Snowden let it be known that the U.S. government was in fact using the internet to spy on everybody, and sorry to say, it was unwarranted spying without a warrant, the international community said, wait, we can't trust America with this level of control because they can spy on the entire world. And of course, that is true. So here we are with a situation, but who would you rather have spying on you, the American government or the United Nations? Well, it's two bad choices, obviously. But to think of the level of power, think of everything the internet does. I mean, I'm on it all day, every day. And most of you send emails, perhaps you make purchases. If you own a business, you're using the internet probably very extensively. All of this would suddenly come right under the control of the United Nations. Now, globalism is the number one issue in the present presidential campaign. We have been moving toward globalism for many years now, but it's been quiet and behind the scenes. The world's politicians didn't want you to know. They knew you didn't want a global government. They knew that Americans treasure U.S. sovereignty. We love being one nation under God. We love our Declaration of Independence. But they think they know best, and they think what we really need is to get rid of our sovereignty and to entrust it with a single global authority. Now, let me tell you, in case you have doubts about what I'm stating to you right now, I have an article that will be coming out in the September-October edition of Endtime magazine. And the article is Globalism, the 800-pound gorilla in the middle of the living room. Globalism is the overriding issue of this present presidential campaign, because for many, many years there has been a plan to move us into a one-world governmental system. And that plan is being implemented faithfully. Who's for such a plan? Have you ever heard of the establishment? Well, you've heard of it a lot in this presidential campaign, unless you're just not listening. Because the establishment believes the answer to the problems of the world is one world government. And the establishment is not confined to the Democratic Party nor to the Republican Party. So this particular campaign is devoted to either we will preserve our borders and preserve our national sovereignty, or else we will let down the borders, come one, come all. I saw a statistic today that of the immigrants that have come into the United States recently, only 0.5% of them were Christian. The rest were of another religion, mostly Muslim. You say, what difference does that make? It makes all the difference in the world. Now look, I'm not going to be politically correct here today. I'm going to tell you the truth. Our system of government is based on Judeo-Christian values. You take those values away, our system of government crumbles. Now, President Obama doesn't care if our system crumbles because he intended for it to crumble. When he was running for office the first time, he promised to fundamentally transform the United States of America. Sorry to say, he has succeeded beyond what I thought he could. Now that Hillary Clinton, she promises to continue that process, to tear down national borders, open the borders, come one, come all. She's already said that in her first 100 days, she is going to issue a blanket amnesty to all illegal immigrants. Now, I don't know how she can do that when we have laws that say she cannot do it, but we don't have anybody in Congress with enough backbone to stand up and say, you do that and we'll impeach you. And that's what should be done, because The president does not have authority to make laws. The president is the executive branch of government. The legislative branch makes the laws, and the executive branch promises to enforce those laws even if they disagree with them. I'm sorry to say that America has become somewhat used to our president only enforce the laws they want to enforce and to ignore the laws that they don't want to enforce. That's the reason we have close to 12 million illegal immigrants in the land today. Now, let me say to you forthrightly, these immigrants, these 12 million people, are just pawns in a bigger game. Many of them are innocent in many ways. I mean, the sign was sent out by our government, come one, come all, we're not going to enforce the law. And so they came and they called their friends, and they came and they called their parents, and they came and they called everybody else, and they came. And the government looked the other way because it was cheap labor, and we needed additional labor to grow the American economy because we weren't producing enough babies on our own. Americans largely decided they don't want big families, so consequently, we decided to tap into the international labor pool and bring them here, but yet we let them stay here as illegal immigrants. Well, now the jobs have somewhat gone away, and now the problems are setting in. The stone is rolling back down the hill. Okay, what am I trying to convey to you today? I'm simply saying to you that this election is over. Do we have a one world government where you can go anywhere in the world you want to go, and they can come anywhere, they can come from anywhere in the world to our nation? I mean, let's face it, you probably have a lock on your door. That's to keep people that aren't supposed to be there out. You may even have a fence around your yard. Same reason. It's the same reason that America has got to have enforceable borders. It's not because all the people coming in are bad. Some of them are. The drug problem is a horrible blight and a curse upon this country. I mean, that's probably problem number one. And most of that is attributable to unenforced borders. And some of that's because the politicians have their hand in the till of the lucrative drug trade. And that's another subject for another day. Now, all this, though, boils down to one issue. Do you believe we need to have a one world government, or do you believe America needs to retain its independence? That's what this election's all about. Forget all the other stuff. Even though there are many other things that are important, globalism is the big issue. Now, in my article that will come out in the September-October edition of Endtime magazine, I give direct quotes from many names that you will know like the back of your hand. I give their own words, what they say, and how they believe in one world government. It will be a wake-up call to you. If you're not a subscriber to Endtime magazine, that one article alone is a reason you should subscribe, and you can do that right now by calling 1-800-ENDTIME, 1-800-363-8463. If you're not a subscriber to Endtime magazine, that's item number one. I mean, we're in the end time now. I'm not telling you the end time is coming. I'm telling you, you and I are in the end time right now. Now, if you live in the end time, and you do, if you subscribe to one magazine, what should it be? Endtime magazine, of course. It's the most critical magazine you can subscribe to. If you're not a subscriber yet, do it before the day's over. 1-800-ENDTIME is the number to call. So here we are facing globalism. Now, this is not a political issue with me. This is a prophecy issue. Your Bible specifically prophesies that a one world government is coming. Now, why are we moving in this direction? Why are these politicians like the Bushes and the Clintons and the Obamas, why are they all in favor of one world government? Well, they're in favor because world government is built on control, And freedom is built on faith. When you move away from faith and toward humanism, then you move away from national sovereignty toward one world government. Here's the way the logic goes. The logic says that if nations have their own sovereignty, which means they have their own army, and then there's a clash between nations, they go to war. And that war sometimes spreads until it kills many people, and twice it's become world war. There's fear that there's another world war ahead, and there is. But to them, the answer is, let's get rid of nationhood, and let's get rid of national military. Let's put everybody's military in the hands of the United Nations. Just like they're willing to put the internet in the hands of the United Nations, now they're wanting to put the military in the hands of the United Nations. If you take a tour of the United Nations, one of its biggest areas is going to be on disarmament and why the world should disarm. They want everybody to disarm, well, except for them, of course. They want all the armaments to rest with the world government body. And then if there's a conflict between nations, they can go before the UN Security Council. They can present their case like in a court of law. And then the UN Security Council votes, and whatever they say, that's what everybody has to abide by. Well, what happened to national sovereignty? Oh, there is no national sovereignty. That was our problem. National sovereignty causes wars. We're going to eliminate national sovereignty. And since we now have a world government, and since there's only one military, the military can't fight with itself. So guess what? Peace. We'll have peace. We won't have freedom anymore. We won't have sovereignty anymore. But we'll have peace. Now, here's a bigger problem. What's going to happen when they get this all set up and they fully intend to do it, and they're going to succeed, according to the Bible? When they get this all set up, what happens if a man like Adolf Hitler gets control of the one world government? Oh, people say, oh, that'll never happen. Well, actually, the Bible says that is exactly what is going to happen. There is a man coming, only he's going to be worse than Adolf Hitler. The Bible actually calls him the beast or the Antichrist. And he's going to gain control for a short period of time of the apparatus of world government, which they're working so diligently to set up right now. And now, I'm not telling you all these people that are doing this are evil people. Some of them think this is the answer. There are many idealistic people that work at the United Nations. I've been there many times. And they are truly trying to work toward world peace. I had a friend who was called the prophet of the UN. His name was Robert Mueller. He was the Assistant Secretary General to 3 Secretary Generals. He was high up at the United Nations. And he fully believed in the United Nations as the answer to the problems of the world. He even said to me, when Jesus Christ comes back, I believe the first place he will go will be to the UN. And I almost held my head. I couldn't believe. And he was a nice man. And I think a well-intentioned man. But he truly believed the United Nations was the answer. So they've been working toward this for years. They're going to get it. And then that evil personage called the Antichrist is going to gain control and become recognized as the dominant leader of the world. Now the nations are reduced to a point, most of them, where they can't resist any longer. Consequently, the Bible teaches that he will dominate the world and he will force everyone to think like he thinks. And if you don't, well, guess what? Click, no internet access for you. And if we're to the point we're in a cashless society, then that only works if you've got a number and can operate over the internet. So if we get to a cashless society, and many people are moving that direction, many people believe we will be there. Sweden thinks it'll get there within the next 5 years. Right today, over 50% of the banks of Sweden, you cannot deposit cash in their banks, and you can't get any cash from their banks. Over half of the banks of Sweden today sit at the heart of Western Europe. and other banks are moving that direction. Even here in America, they really want you to deposit everything electronically. They want to eliminate all that traffic in their banks. Those bank buildings are expensive. And there are many other, all the people that you employ there have to be paid. But if you get everything boiled down electronically, I mean, this World Wide Web can run the whole world. But in order to run the world, it has to be under the structure of the one world government. Well, fear no more. October 1st, the American government is freely surrendering this from under its jurisdiction. It is so ludicrous and so unbelievable that we're doing this. Well, why are we doing it then? Because President Obama is a globalist. He believes in one world government. He believes in signing peace agreements that will tie us all together and eliminate all barriers economically, all barriers in politics. He believes in the World Wide Web being under the control of the worldwide government. That's where he is. That's where all of us are right now. Now, this story is much deeper than that. We produced a DVD a little while back called Master Plan of the Dragon. And I actually show 3 organizations that were founded 100 years ago, within 8 years of each other. One person was behind the whole thing. And today, those 3 organizations are the 3 leading powers taking us into one world government. Master Plan of the Dragon is the name of the DVD. If you haven't seen it, you owe it to yourself. It will shock you what's going on. Well, if you'd like to have a copy of that, the number to call is 1-800-ENDTIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. And don't forget, if you're not yet a subscriber at Endtime Magazine, get that one done today. 1-800-363-8463.
Endtime Ministries has taught countless Bible studies about prophecy. One of our favorite places to teach is on the Mount of Olives, where Jesus will soon return, the Temple Mount, where the third temple will soon be built, and overlooking the plain of Megiddo, where the Battle of Armageddon will soon be fought. Being in the place where prophecies will soon take place brings them to life in a breathtaking way. In other words, our favorite place to teach prophecy is while on our Israel Prophecy Tour. You can be a part of it. Join Irvin and Judy Baxter October 27th through November 7th for a life-changing trip. For more details, go to endtime.com or call 1-800-ENDTIME. Sign up today. Time is running out.
There's a specific prophecy in Daniel chapter 11, verse 32 and 33. Listen to it. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many. So right while the Antichrist is corrupting people with his false doctrines and with his flatteries, yet there's going to be a people who are strong for God. They're going to do exploits. And their assignment is the ones who understand should be instructing others who don't understand.
To order End Time Ministries bestseller, Understanding the End Time, call 1-800-END-TIME or go to endtime.com.
If your station does not carry the full hour of End of the Age, go to endtime.com to hear the conclusion of today's broadcast.
We will be taking your calls in this half of the program. The number to call to be on the air with me, 877-END-TIME. That's 877-363-8463. The number to reach our operators, that's 800-END-TIME. Also, I will say to you that if you would like to be a partner with Endtime Ministries, we need you. We welcome you on board. And I'll tell you, it's the best thing you'll ever do. The number to call is 1-800-END-TIME to become a partner with Endtime Ministries. Let's go ahead and go to the phones now. Johnny is calling from Tennessee. Hello, Johnny. Welcome to the program. Johnny, are you with me? Johnny, you
One second, sir. 1 second. I'm having problems with my connection. connection.
Okay, Johnny's attempting to get his technology straightened out there. I'm sure that you've never had a technological problem. So anyway, are you able to get it, Johnny, or do we need to get back to you?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you very well. Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I've been doing some research on the Antichrist, and I have come to the conclusion that some people believe that the Antichrist is going to be Prince Harry from England, because according to some people I have talked to, they said that he's the Prince of Wales, and that the coat of arms for Wales is a red dragon. So I don't know how much is that, any of any significance, but and also, do you have any idea why the Jewish people are so few in the world? I mean, as far as I know, there's about 20 million, maybe 24 million altogether. And why is it then that the Jews have not, procreated, that, there's hundreds of millions of them, or maybe, a billion or more of them? And is that something that the Jews don't believe in procreating that much? Or is it that God made it to be just few instead of a lot of them?
Well, Johnny, for your first question, here's what we know about the Antichrist. He's coming out of somewhere in Europe. We cannot say right now where that would be. So he could come out of Great Britain, because Great Britain is part of Europe. Russia also claims to be part of Europe. He could come out of Russia. But we will know better where the Antichrist is coming from when the 10-nation union prophesied emerges. The 10-nation union is not in existence yet, but the Bible prophesies a union of 10 nations out of Europe, and the Antichrist will rise up among those 10 nations, uprooting 3. So that's when we'll be able to start really narrowing things down. Until then, I don't claim to know who the Antichrist is, but I do know he's going to come from somewhere in Europe, because the Bible teaches he must come out of the reborn Holy Roman Empire, and the European Union is the reborn Holy Roman Empire. Now, as far as why there are so few Jews in the world, well, they've been in persecution and exile over the last 2,000 years, since they were driven out of their homeland by the Romans. So for 1,878 years, they had no place to call home until the rebirth of the nation of Israel on May the 14th of 1948. Now, also Adolf Hitler killed 1/3 of them. Before World War II, they had 18 million. He killed 6 million of them, so there were only 12 million left on the earth at the end of World War II. They now have regained that 6 million over the last 60 years. They have increased their population by 50%, so they're back up to 18 million right now. So those are some of the factors as to why they are such a small people. They have been living under horrible persecution for the last 2,000 years, and many of them have been put to death. It wasn't just Hitler's Holocaust. There was the horrible Spanish Inquisition of 1492, and many other times the Jewish people have lived under persecution. So that's the only thing I can think of as to why their numbers are so small compared to other people. Hey, listen, Johnny, got a lot of other people lined up here, so I'm going to let you go. And I thank you very much for your phone call. Let's go now to Joseph calling from Florida. Hello, Joseph.
Good afternoon, Reverend. I have a question. Did you see the story this weekend where George Soros said that he is God, he made everything? And
well, now I have read several articles about George Soros recently. I have not read an article where he claimed to be God.
I emailed you that article, but the thing I found interesting is, he was born in Czechoslovakia, which I don't know what it's called today, but I know it's part of the European Union, and, it makes me wonder.
Well, it is true that the Czech Republic, which is what it's called now, is a part of the European Union. They were the last nation to ratify the Lisbon Treaty, which is the constitution of the European Union. So yes, they are part of the European Union. Now, could George Soros be the Antichrist? Well, I can't say for sure because I do not know who the Antichrist is. I will tell you, though, that George Soros is a globalist to his eyeballs, and he has contributed a lot of money to the migration. He loves the bringing down of borders. He's attempting to move us toward a one world governmental system. It's also interesting that one of his organizations has contributed at least $7 million to Hillary Clinton's campaign. So that tells us a lot about what is really going on behind the scenes. George Soros is certainly a very big and critical player in the process of globalization.
Okay. Thank you. You have a great week,
Okay.
okay?
Thank you, Joseph. Appreciate the phone call. Let's go now to Chris. Hello, Chris from Missouri. Oh, I'm sorry. Chris hung up. Apparently, Chris was wanting to talk about George Soros, and so probably when he heard we were already talking about him, he felt like that subject was covered. There's a lot of articles right now in the last few days about George Soros and the role that he plays in the background and has been playing for a long time. He is a believer in globalization. You know, one of the amazing things is George Soros is a Jewish person, and yet he's working towards this concept of globalization. Karl Marx was Jewish. He wrote the Communist Manifesto. So a lot of Jewish people have become believers in Karl Marx and communism, because communism also goes by another name, humanism. Humanism means men have to rely on themselves, not on God. It is a godless ideology. And when we move the Ten Commandments out, it should not have surprised us that immediately socialism came flooding in our country, because they're opposite terms. Our system of government will not work without God. Originally, you had to be a Christian to hold office in the United States of America. Way back in the days of the founders in the 13 colonies, you had to be a Christian because they understood that our system of government has to be run by people who are one nation under God, because it is a system of freedom. And the Bible tells us where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And our system of government simply will not work when run by atheist or godless type people. So the further we move away from God, the less liberty we have and the bigger government we have. So a lot of people, even Jewish people, have embraced atheism, and they have embraced one-worldism under a Marxist system of government. It's not just George Soros. There are many, many, many of them. Now, not all of them by any stretch of the imagination. There are many Jews in Israel today that honor God. They do not yet believe in Jesus Christ, but one reason they're so susceptible to these false ideologies is because they have rejected the true ideology. When you reject Jesus Christ, you reject the light of the world and you live in darkness. Anyone who does not believe in Jesus Christ is living in darkness. The Bible says that. He was the light of the world. And men did not receive the light. They loved darkness rather than light. Why? Because their deeds were evil. They wanted to do what they wanted to do rather than live under the lordship of Jesus Christ. So anyway, a lot of what's going on in our world, everything going on in our world today is really a religious struggle. Politics gets most of the press, but underneath, this is really a struggle between good and evil, between light and darkness, between God and Satan. The final war, the Battle of Armageddon, is going to be the final battle between God and Satan. So that's where we're headed. Everything that we're involved in right now is a spiritual struggle. Let me give you a couple more remarks. By the way, we have open lines if you'd like to be on the air with me. 877 Endtime is the number, 877-363-8463. The rest of this article that I was drawing from today says putting icon under UN control would also subject American consumers to internet taxes. Christian Whitten, a former senior advisor under the Bush State Department, told the Daily Caller, if the UN gains control, what amounts to the directory and traffic signals of the internet, it can impose whatever taxes it likes. It likely would start with a tax on registering domains and expand from there. What a one world government's dream. You got access to the internet, anything done there, you can tack on a tax so small that people won't care. But since there's millions of transactions per day, well, it's a lot of money. And they've been dreaming of taxing the internet for a long time. Believe me, the world would love to tax. And the United Nations would love to get to the point where they don't have to depend on the contributions of national governments, because when they do something that the national government opposes, the national government can just turn off the faucet of their income. The United States did that for a while. Before President Clinton came to office, the government refused to pay our assessment because of some of the things the UN was doing. And then, matter of fact, the Congress passed a law against paying it. Well, Bill Clinton came along and straightened all of that out and paid all the taxes up before it was the finish of his administration. And he actually apologized in his speech before the United Nations. I read it just the other day. It was his 1997 speech of the UN. He apologized because our dues were not paid and said, I'm working on getting that done. Well, they got it done. They brought it up to snuff. Well, the UN would love to be independently funded so that no governments can bring them into control anymore. That's what's really another thing they're just dying to do. They've already discussed a tax called the Tobin tax. So all these things are very interesting. Okay, tell you what, let's do. Let's get back to the phones now. Well, wait a minute. We're just on the verge of a break. Those of you that are on the screen, stay right there, because I want to talk to you for just a moment about going to Israel with me and Judy. Judy and I, we're so privileged to go to Israel every year, and we lead a group with us. It always is the highlight of the year. And if you could go with us, you would love it. If you're interested in going with us, we still have a little bit of room left on the October 27th through November the 7th tour. So give us a call right now. Just ask to speak to someone about the tour. Call 1-800-Endtime. They'll give you all the details, tell you everything you want to know. 1-800-Endtime, ask about the tour. We'll be right back.
1 Chronicles 12:32 states, "And of the children of Issachar, which were men that had understanding of the times, to know what Israel ought to do." Jerusalem Prophecy College was created to educate the Jewish people concerning the prophecies that will come to pass in the near future. But why stop there? We want to give everyone this opportunity. That's why the online learning portion of the Jerusalem Prophecy College has been created, designed for students who desire to participate in the program but cannot attend the physical college in Jerusalem. With the online program, you can study from the convenience of your home with the flexibility to accommodate your schedule. Jerusalem Prophecy College helps to train a core group of leaders who can effectively minister to others in the end time. The next semester begins Monday, September 5th. Go to JerusalemProphecyCollege.com to register today. That's JerusalemProphecyCollege.com.
We're going right back to the phones, and Brian is calling from Pennsylvania. Hello, Brian.
Hello, Irvin. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you.
Great. My question today is, as we talk about the different things like globalism, one world government, and many, many other things, and we always say, well, they're prophesied in the Bible. When discussing these things with other people, sometimes I hear, well, why is it that we're standing in the way of letting these things happen? Why, if they're prophesied in the Bible, why not just let them happen instead of trying to retain sovereignty of the United States. Let's just go with the one world government. What are your thoughts on that?
If the U.S. were prophesied to be a part of the one world government, then I would agree with you completely. For example, if I were in Great Britain right now, if I were in Russia right now, I would take a different approach. I would tell everybody, it's coming, we're not going to stop it. Here's what we should do about it in response. We would have to find an alternative form of action. However, in the definition of world government in Revelation chapter 13, verses 1 and 2, Germany's there as the leopard, Russia's there as the feet of the bear, Great Britain is there as the mouth of the lion, the 10-nation union of Europe is there, but the eagle has been eliminated. The eagle is not there, indicating that we're not going to be an integral part of the world government of the end time. Therefore, the best thing we can do is to fortify the United States against it. Now, for instance, Daniel knew it was prophesied that they would be in captivity 70 years down in Babylon, and then after 70 years they would return. So Daniel began to pray in about year 69. He fasted, he prayed that God would overturn the captivity and return God's people. So even though something is prophesied, that doesn't mean we are not participants, because prophecy doesn't make things happen. Prophecy is history written in advance by one who's already been there. So it's prophesied because it happened. It's not happening because it's prophesied. Yes, it will come to pass, but prophecy is God's foreknowledge. He's able to be in the beginning and in the end simultaneously. And so he's given us prophecy so we're not out here groping in the darkness. Yet at the same time, I think it was 1 Chronicles chapter 12, verse 32. It says there that the sons of Issachar were men who had understanding of the times to know what Israel ought to do. So we're given prophecy so we can know what to do. We who are living in the United States, we should be pulling out of the world government as much as we can and preparing to become a harbor of safety for those people from nations who can't get out. We've got to create a situation where they will have a place to go to if they have to run from the Antichrist and his one world governmental system. Does that make any sense to you, Brian?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's good advice. Like I said, in having discussions with other people, that's where I sort of got a little stumped. But that absolutely makes sense, yes. So thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you for calling, Brian. And, you know, that's a question a lot of people ask. Hey, if there's going to be all this, why resist it? Well, it's like, we know there's going to be an Antichrist, but if you know who he is, don't go vote for him. I mean, we are against all these things that are wrong. At the same time, Jesus said, I tell you these things before they happen so that when they do come to pass, you might believe. And also, as I quoted before, the sons of Issachar were men who had understanding of the times to know what Israel ought to do. So if we know what is coming, we can prepare. Joseph knew there was going to be a famine in Egypt, but he also knew there was going to be 7 years of plenty. He knew what to do. They saved up during the 7 years of plenty so they could survive the 7 years of famine. God used all of that for his divine plan. That's the same way with us today. So it's so critical and so important where we are right now. Well, let's get right back to the phones. Sawyer's calling from New York. Hello, Sawyer. Sawyer, are you with me? Okay. Somehow got cold feet. I don't blame him. I get cold feet every day when I come here to this microphone, more or less. I've been doing this. Oh, by the way, Endtime Ministries. We began the broadcast in 1998. We began Endtime Ministries in 1986, 30 years ago this year. And the November-December edition of Endtime Magazine is going to be a big celebration of 30 years for Endtime Ministries, 25 years for the publication of Endtime Magazine. So big milestones this year for us here at Endtime Ministries. And now, well, we started broadcasting in 98. So here we are, 18 years. I've been walking to this microphone 5 days a week for an hour a day, talking about what God is doing in the world and what it means to all of us. So, okay, now I think something happened with Sawyer, but it looks like to me he is back, calling from New York.
Hello.
Sawyer, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, what's on your mind?
Yes, my question is, you know, Hillary Clinton, she's very into the UN and she believes in one world government. What do you think if she wins election? Do you think we're going through that way? I know I've been studying in the Bible prophecy with you, the college. What do you think if she wins? Are we going through that way?
So here's what the Bible says. The Bible says the U.S. is not going to be in the one world government because we're not in that one world government beast of Revelation 13, 1 and 2. The Bible also says that the eagle is going to be protecting Israel against the Antichrist and his one world government during the time called the Great Tribulation. That's Revelation chapter 12, verse 14. The Bible says there will be given to the woman Israel 2 wings of a great eagle that she might be protected and nourished for the final 3.5 years. So that plainly paints a picture of the United States not being a part of the one world governmental system. What does that mean to this present election? Like you state, Hillary Clinton is all for the United Nations and globalization. If she wins, then something's going to have to reverse the trend later on. For example, let's say that she wins. We know there's a war coming that's going to end up killing 1/3 of mankind. Revelation chapter 9, verse 13 through 16 tells us that. Let's say that Hillary Clinton would win this election and that she would end up getting America into this horrible war, the worst war the world has ever known, and that would put her into horrible favor with the American people. She'd probably be a one-term president, and then someone else would come along and would be elected to replace her that would take us back the other direction. Or the other possibility is that she doesn't win because Donald Trump, of course, is saying that we must not have these open borders, that we must not join into the one world government. He openly campaigns against globalism, and on that issue he's right. He may not be right on every issue, but he is absolutely right on that issue of globalization. So he is either going to win or else Hillary will win, and then everything will go backwards for her, and then the next president would come along and would still, the prophecy will come to pass. And America is going to draw back and defend Israel against the one world government, whether it's this year or 4 years from now.
All right. Thank you so much, brother.
Okay. Well, thank you too, Sawyer. And you know, these are questions all of us are thinking about right now. As you know, as you can tell, I've been thinking about these things and I've thought about it very carefully. We have a new DVD called America's God-Given Destiny. And this DVD is so important. We originally produced it to help raise money for Jews to get them out of Europe into Israel, because there's another Holocaust coming to Europe soon. The Bible says it. You can read it for yourself. It's Daniel chapter 12, verse 1. The Bible says that then will be a time of trouble such as never been before, nor ever again shall be. It's talking about the Great Tribulation. So there's another time of trouble coming to Europe. It is true that Israel has a place of safety in the land of Israel. They are there, they rule themselves, they have 200 nuclear weapons, and so no one dares to attack them there. However, in Europe, that's not true. There are 1.6 million Jews living in Europe, and there are another 3 or 4 million are scattered around the world, not in Europe, and not in Israel and not in the United States. These are all vulnerable to the coming Holocaust. And I hate to say this because I love the Jewish people, but it is going to happen. So their safety is to get them into Israel or the United States of America. And so we produced this DVD, America's God-Given Destiny, and that is to protect Israel is one of our destinies. I believe we have several destinies, but nevertheless, we produced this DVD. And anyone who donates $1,000 to help Jews get out of Europe or wherever else they are in the world and make it to Israel before it's too late, we will send you a letter that you will sign that we will present to the people that you help get out, number one. Number two, we'll give you a beautiful picture of America watching over Israel in the end time. And then number three, we'll give you the physical DVD, America's God-Given Destiny. So if you would choose to do that, I would say that would be a wonderful thing to do. I would urge you, if God's blessed you where you can afford to do that, give it to the Another Jewish Holocaust Fund. All you have to do is call 1-800-Endtime in order to do that. However, let's say you can't afford $1,000, but you still would like to get the program, America's God-Given Destiny. It is so important, we decided to make a way whereby anybody can get it. For any donation of any size, we actually had one person give $1. Of course, that doesn't even cover the cost, but we abide by our word. We had a person give $1, and we sent them the password so that they could download America's God-Given Destiny. But a donation of any size, you just pray about what God would have you to do. And if all you can do is $1, then that's the reason we did this. We feel like every person in the world needs to see this DVD. It will pop your eyes open. Because years ago, I taught on the United States in the Bible, which we found absolute proof. But I didn't see clearly what the future of the U.S. was going to be until the last year or so. So I put all this new understanding in this DVD, America's God-Given Destiny. Simply go to endtime.com, endtime.com, click the donate button, enter the amount of your donation and how you want to pay it, and we will automatically send you your own password to America's God-Given Destiny. If you haven't got that yet, well, you need to get it and you need to watch it like immediately. So it's so important. Now, let me go back before we close the program today. We're getting close to the time when you need to sign up for our trip to Israel. And if you haven't done it yet, you need to hurry. We do have some spots left, but not very many. So if you'd like to go with us, there's still time. And by the way, a lot of people say, is it safe? It's safer than being in the U.S. I mean, in the last 30 years, 50 million tourists have gone and organized tours to Israel. Not one fatality, not one. Now, if you go out freelancing, that's another story. But if you stay with our tour, not one fatality out of 50 million in 30 years. You can't say that about the U.S. It's perfectly safe for you to go. If you want to go, call us, 800-Endtime, and ask for speaking to someone about the tour.
End of the Age is a production of Endtime Ministries. This broadcast will be available on our website, endtime.com, in the archives section. On our website, you'll also find more information about how current events are fulfilling Bible prophecy. To reach our operators, call 1-800-Endtime. That's 1-800-363-8463. Endtime Ministries is partner supported. We would like to say thank you to our partners who made this broadcast possible. To do what Matthew 24:14 said, to reach the world with the gospel of the kingdom.